This is Dave Daly. We're here at Comic-Con Salem 2014. I have with you here Nick Quarry. Folks, he's a North Salem High graduate, and he was a UFC fighter. And now, after that amazing journey and we're watching the screen right here of him actually on TV,
getting
UFC,
punched in the face repeatedly.
getting punched. But Nick, tell us about this new venture here being at Comic-Con that you're going into.
Well, when I heard that there was going to be a Comic-Con in my hometown, I just knew everything else gets set aside. I got to show up. I got to support the hometown.
Yeah.
So I started fighting. I saw the UFC on TV when I was 24 years old. Wow. I said, I'm going to go do that. Joined a gym. It was the Straight Blast Gym in Kaiser way back in the day.
Wow.
Started training there, just kept on going, started fighting, made it onto the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, and then got picked up by the UFC and fought for them for close to 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, everybody had been always saying, oh, you should write a biography, all this crazy stuff you've seen and done. And I thought, I don't want to do the usual Rocky story. It's been done to death. I don't want Marky Mark coming out with a new movie based on me.
Yeah.
So I started writing things that I've seen and done as a fighter and as a father, because that's where my journey really is. It's taking care of my little girl.
Yeah.
But then I threw in zombies as the antagonist.
Wow.
And so we got Zombie Cage Fighter, which has been featured on Spike TV, on AMC, on Kevin Smith's Comic Book Men. This is the first issue. I have a few copies left here available at the Comic-Con, but it's just a growing thing, and to have fans showing up and wanting to support my brand and getting excited about my brand is just amazing.
Wow, what a full circle. Starting out at North Salem High. Do you reside in Salem now, still again?
I am up just outside of Portland right now, up at Lake Oswego. I moved up there eventually for the training. I was there at Team Quest with Randy Couture, Dan Henderson, and Matt Lindland, Chael Sonnen back in the day.
Wow.
It was just a great place, but I could never leave Oregon. It's just such a great quality of life. The people here are so friendly. It's a little bit slower pace than down in California. People move to Oregon for a good life. That's what we've got here.
Well, we're glad you came back. For audiences to know where they can get your information, how do they do that?
ZombieCageFighter.com is the easiest way. You can follow me on Twitter, Nate Rock Quarry, Facebook, Nathan.Quarry. I'm all over the place. Search Salem, Oregon Fighter. You'll find me.
Fantastic. And can you relate for our audiences, were there some lessons you learned at North Salem, whether it was faculty or sports, that groomed you in your future as a kind of a product of our North Salem neighborhood?
The biggest thing about schooling in general is it prepares you for the real world out there. You need to be well educated, because especially as a fighter or as an athlete, it's not really a career, it's an opportunity. So many people, they go into this thinking, I'm going to make billions of dollars, I'll never have to work again. Well, if you're lucky, it sets you up to get you ready for the rest of your life. And schooling is the biggest thing.
Wow.
Your body's going to break down. I've had 8 surgeries, but my mind is still sharp. I'm still educated. I can follow my dreams. You can't do that if you're not educated.
Wow. Another question for inside the world of UFC and Dana White and the manner by which he rules, pretty much with his demeanor of now bringing women into the fold. What's your current appraisal of the UFC?
Well, the UFC, they're a brand. They're a corporation. Corporations are always concerned about the bottom line, about growing the brand, taking care of themselves. That's why when people come to me and say, what's the best advice you can give me as an up-and-coming fighter?
Yeah.
You need to educate yourself. You need to be aware that this is a business. You can only fight because you love it. If you get into it for the money, do something else. Start a band, try to go for football, anything else. The money for MMA, for the UFC, not so great.
Really?
But what you can do is you can build it so where the UFC comes calling for you.
Well,
if you send your card to the UFC, they're going to say, yeah, you're one of 1,000 people.
Wow.
But if they call you, then you've got some hand.
And what was your in? What was your point that got you in the door of all the competitive options it is to get in?
It was such a crazy story and how everything is so intertwined. 12 years ago, 12 years and a month ago, I was working here locally in town at Ballard Sign Company. And I decided, you know what, I'm not happy doing this job anymore. I was working construction. I'd been fighting in small shows as a pro, and I finally said, I'm done. I'm going to take my shot at following my dreams. I had a mortgage. I had a 2-year-old baby. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I started training. I actually won a title out in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
I went back there to defend my title. Just so happens that that's where the matchmaker for the UFC lives.
Wow.
He saw me finish my opponent in about 2 minutes by popping his arm, beating him up standing as well. And the side note to that is my father had passed away the day before that fight. So I fought with all the emotion and everything that I had been building up in the weeks prior to that.
Wow.
It was all a matter of, well, I committed to taking the fight. I trained hard. I was always ready, because they always say luck is really when opportunity meets timing. So I was always ready. I was never going to be somebody that says, oh, that's a great opportunity, I wish I was ready. I'd rather be ready just in case.
Well, and you can relate to St. Pierre, who physically still looks like a specimen, but just the mental drain, you can tell he's kind of had his limit. And his fans don't always understand why. He represents in the cage more, but can you relate to that mental taxing that St. Pierre is going through?
It's ridiculous. People, you'll see how uneducated some fans are, because they'll be talking about paydays, and some fighter will be complaining, well, I only made 10 grand for this fight, and somebody will say, you made 10 grand in 5 minutes. Geez, I'd do it for half that much. Well, it's not really 5 minutes. If you look at how many years I've been training, it's 18 years. 10, 12 years building up to that first fight in the UFC, fighting for free, fighting for a few $100s, and then barely making it. You have to be prepared for the long haul. Everybody wants to think, well, they were an overnight success. No, it was years, years of training. My very first fight ever, I trained for 3 months, didn't go out, didn't party, not a single cookie the entire time. I went to work, I slept, I ate, I took care of my little girl. That was it. Won my fight in 2 minutes.
So this is months of work, not just what's in the ring, you're telling us.
Months and years.
Wow.
And it's the fights sometimes, that's your reward.
Wow.
After all of this training and this hard work, your reward is getting punched in the face by somebody who's really angry.
Well, you look like a specimen. What are you doing to still maintain your physique after fighting?
Well, I'm an athlete, and MMA and jiu-jitsu is just some of my favorite things. So I've got gyms up in the Portland area that I train at. I know there's some local gyms here in Salem. My buddy Dave Hagen has a gym here as well. Go in and take jiu-jitsu, take kickboxing. Running on a treadmill is the most boring thing I can think of. As soon as I get on that treadmill, I'm thinking, oh my God, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, I'm so bored, when is this over? But when I'm grappling or if I'm doing kickboxing, I'm learning, my mind is excited, I'm making relationships, friendships with other people. That's what's going to make you want to do it. If it's if it's not fun, you're not going to want to do it.
Makes sense. So do things that keep your active body, but your mind as well, is what you're saying to our audiences.
Exactly, and especially with jiu-jitsu, you wear the gi, the big robe that the guys wear. The game is really slow, and it's a lot safer that way. And you'll get in incredible shape. And by the way, you're also learning self-defense as well.
Wonderful. And in closing here, what would you like to say to all of our North Salem High kids who are in that impressionable part of their life? What would you say to them to be successful in a short sentence?
I know you think that all the adults don't know anything. It's just that most of them are kind of burned out and broken at this point, but they may have a nugget of wisdom every once in a while. So keep your eyes and ears open. You think you know everything. I thought I did. It wasn't the case. You're going to hear me saying this and think, no, he's full of it. He doesn't know anything. I actually do. Listen to those guys that have been down that road. Take some advice.
Awesome. North Salem Vikings. What class did you graduate?
1990.
1990. North Salem Vikings. Thanks a lot, Nick, for talking to us.
Hey,
Best of luck. Thank you very much for being a role model, and
thank you.
Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.